We laugh, we cry, we live, we die. We dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of the child. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth. And we believe that growing is an answer.
Morning. My name is Jan Lucas Grimm, and I'm so happy to introduce Stephanie Studley today as she does her spiritual journey. We met a few years ago at a Black Lives Matter White Ally weekend workshop, and we hit it off immediately. I recognized in her a desire to learn and grow as an individual and as a mother. She was the mother of one young Owen at the time, and since then she and her husband David have added Henry and Leo to the family. Some of you may remember Henry's dedication when Nick carried him around the sanctuary so we could all see him and ooh and ah, and Nick joked afterwards that there might need to be a weight limit for babies being dedicated. Stephanie and I got together just the other day to reconnect and catch up. She is the mom of 3 boys, as am I. She is from Michigan, as am I, and she's a dog lover, as am I. We had a lot to talk about. I was reminded how, when I was a mother of young children, many of the women in our congregation with children older than mine often consoled and reassured me through difficult times. And I could see that I'm in a position to do that now because my sons are adults. I love how that works in our church community. Not that any of us are experts, least of all me, but we have experience and perspective that can be reassuring. The exchange of wisdom is by no means one way, though. I have much to learn from the younger moms in our congregation. These are challenging times, and they are exciting times as old norms are being challenged and women are going ever higher and stronger and braver than before. They are passing that empowerment onto their children, and I'm inspired and challenged to grow and expand my own understanding of the world and what it means to be human. Writing a spiritual journey is an interesting undertaking. It reminds us that we are indeed on a journey, and it helps us look at where we've been and think about where we're going. It connects us as listeners to folks in our congregation as we get to know them better, and more often than not, we can relate to some of the factors that brought them to Unitarian Universalism. It's been lovely to work on this with Stephanie, and I really look forward to watching her and her family grow.
So can you introduce yourself?
I'm Owen.
I'm David.
David.
And Stephanie and Leo.
And Leo. And Henry's sleeping, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Owen, and how old are you?
I'm 7 years old.
Whoa, that's really old. And you just finished school?
Yes, I just finished school.
And what grade was that?
First grade.
First grade. Was that better than kindergarten?
Yeah, way better because in first grade you have Chromebooks.
Oh, Chromebooks. What do you do with your Chromebook?
Do learning stuff on them like math, spelling.
Yeah.
It was an adjustment because David was also working remotely from home. So learning a new schedule along with having Henry and Leo at home was challenging. I feel like we've gotten to a place where it feels more balanced now.
Teaching's hard.
Teaching's hard.
Teaching is hard.
Those teachers should get paid more, I think.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
We should just get paid $0.
Well, these teachers get paid $0. These ones, right? Let's see where my finger is. Yeah, those teachers are paid $0. But your teachers should get paid more, I think.
Yeah.
But he's eating that apple like a maniac. That's great.
We have like cash dojos, so the parents can talk to the teachers. And I went to that app on my Chromebook, and she sends out the just click on it, and then to this, and then I say join now, and then my teacher, Mrs. Thorne's lips.
Do you think when your grandparents were your age, they would know what the heck you're talking about?
No, because because back then there weren't computers.
Definitely not in the same. Yeah.
There were phones, but they were like card phones.
They had cords and they were like rotary. You'd turn the dial and stuff. I bet they'd be like, and then you open the meeting and you're teleported to a whole other place, and then you see your teacher. Their minds would go like explosion, don't you think? I bet some ministers would think the same thing about that, wouldn't you think? Like, so then you're going to talk into a little piece of glass about your sermon, and people are going to nod their heads or turn off their screen and roll their eyes.
Take a nap.
Yeah, take a nap. My dad always would say he's meditating.
We have a happy hour every Friday with a group of friends that we grew up with, and that is just, it's been awesome. Something that we really look forward to, and definitely wouldn't have happened without COVID. Leo's first birthday is on Saturday.
What? Birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
He'll have a quarantine birthday.
I think we need, whenever we get back to face-to-face Sunday services, we should sing for everyone's birthday, because I feel like it's just not the same. What do you hope to learn this summer?
How to become an astronaut so I can go into outer space. We already have where we don't launch the space shuttle right here in the front door.
You're going to do it here?
Yes.
Okay. That, you might need to trim your tree.
We would just cut it down.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Aggressive action.
Do it on Earth Day, why don't you? Have a dove fly out right when you do that. Elon Musk, I'm next. Yeah.
Sir, call Mission Control and ask them to get a spacesuit for me and get a rocket so I can launch into outer space and catch up to Dag and Bob.
Well, maybe you should put that in your Google form request from Nancy, Miss Nancy.
Yeah.
We'll see if we got that in the children and youth budget, but we're trying our best.
In Heaven by Reverend Mark Bellatini. Ah, it's true. When our ancestors spoke of heaven, they were speaking of this moment. When they went on about nirvana, they imagined a time like this. When they sang of paradise, it was this morning they imagined. A time when all the mysteries of life and death are blended in a community of praise. When the bones of ancient lovers are given flesh again in our own bodies. Teachers of long ago speaking of love and truth once more in lives so ordinary they are extraordinary. Blessed is our breath, in and out, quiet. Blessed is our sitting, our fidgeting, our movement. Blessed is our heartbeat, echoing the pounding alleluias of the distant stars. Blessed is the silence that is presence, not absence.
It takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, must share the burden. We all, everyone, will share the joy.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. Some of you might know me better as Owen, Henry, and Leo's mom. Back in November of 2016, my little family attended the Standing on the Side of Love rally. At the time, I had no idea what it meant to be a Unitarian Universalist, but I found myself curious about the organization supporting the event. I knew Malorie Farrington through a local mom's club, so after seeing her at the rally, I reached out to her to learn more about UUCCI. She invited me to join her at a service sometime. Then a couple months later, Black Lives Matter of Columbus, Indiana had a White Ally workshop, and it was held in the UUCCI Sanctuary. It was the first time I was in our building. I wondered, what is this place? What did they believe? At the time, I would never have imagined that I would be here, a member of this community sharing my spiritual journey, but I am grateful for the opportunity and for the journey I've taken to get here. I was born in Taos City, Michigan, a small tourist town on Lake Huron. I grew up loving the water and spending my summer days at the beach and sailing Taos Bay with my family. My younger brother Mickey and I were baptized as babies and raised attending Zion Lutheran Church, which was next door to our house. We attended Sunday school before church, vacation Bible school during the summer. I have many memories of making arts and crafts projects and singing songs and learning biblical stories in ways that we should live a life like Jesus. I also very clearly remember chugging Kool-Aid, which I was not allowed at home, and eagerly getting to the multi-purpose room after church service for donuts. Around 6th grade, I started confirmation classes. Confirmation classes within my family and church were mandatory, a rite of passage to affirm our beliefs as Christians, to become an official member of my Lutheran church, and to begin receiving the Holy Sacrament. We studied the small catechism written by Martin Luther and studied 6 areas of faith: knowing God, the creeds, knowing how God wants us to live, the 10 commandments, knowing how to pray, the Lord's Prayer, giving and receiving forgiveness, the office of the keys and confession, understanding how we come to faith, holy baptism, and recognizing Jesus' real presence in the Lord's Supper, the sacrament at the altar. It was a lot of reading and memorizing. As I grew older, it was harder to get excited. I would much rather sleep in on Sundays, and the rigidness of confirmation classes taught by our pastor made them drag on. When I was a senior in high school, my parents divorced. Without much discussion, my brother and I packed our things and moved into a different house with our mom. It was a confusing time in my life. My dad struggled with depression and addiction, and with little understanding, I made assumptions about what caused him to look beyond our family for peace. A few months later, I graduated high school and began college at Central Michigan University. I have a lot of fuzzy memories of that time of new independence. After college, David and I moved to Philadelphia. For the first time in my life, I felt like an adult. I was beginning a journey of exploring and questioning what was important to me and discovering how David and I would carve our own path as a newly married couple. I worked for a nonprofit that advocated for improving maternal and infant child health by reducing the rate of accidental infant deaths caused by unsafe sleeping environments and SIDS, which is the sudden infant death syndrome, that unfortunately happens at a much higher rate in communities of color. I was driving all over the city, conducting home visits, and sharing information about how to create a safe sleep environment and providing a pack-and-player crib. As you can imagine, I was a fish out of water. I had lived a sheltered life and was completely unaware of my privilege. I did not have any children of my own and was teaching women of color how to improve their babies' lives. I quickly realized I had a lot to learn, or rather, purposely and ever so painfully unlearn. I did not realize it at the time, but I was beginning the lifelong process of unlearning explicit and implicit biases and beliefs. I learned that I loved working with pregnant women and children and was humbled every single day. I transitioned to working at the Children's Hospital Philadelphia. I worked on the pulmonary unit as a child life activity coordinator, which is just a lengthy title for a fun person that plays at bedside and does not poke you. All of the kids I met and worked with were chronically or terminally ill. I learned the importance of simply listening and walking beside another person no matter the age. While living in Philadelphia, I was lucky enough to be invited to celebrate Jewish holidays with coworkers and friends. I had never experienced different religious rituals and traditions before. I loved the glow of the candles and the prayers that were recited, and of course I loved the food and wine. I was amazed by it all, but most of all, I loved the feeling of being included. I had so many questions that I had never considered before. What other things could I learn from people and religions that were different than from what I knew growing up? What religious teachings from my childhood felt confusing and maybe not what I believed to be true in my heart? Does there have to be a right or wrong answer? We left Philadelphia because David had been accepted into the MBA program at Michigan State University. At the same time, my dad had learned that he was terminally ill. He had leukemia and advanced lung cancer. Mickey, David, and I were his primary caretakers, and we did our best to keep him comfortable. I was familiar with death and dying from working in the hospital, but it was entirely different to experience it for yourself. The day before he stopped talking, he told Mickey and I that he loved us both. Then in the quiet stillness of a full moon, he died. I miss him terribly, and there have been countless times I've longed to talk to him. Years later, after becoming a mom myself, I found myself thinking of all the babies and mothers I visited in Philadelphia and the families I met while I worked at the hospital. I found myself thinking of Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon Martin's mom, mourning the recent murder of her son, and the worry and pain I will never understand raising a white son. All of a sudden, the great responsibility of motherhood and raising a baby hit me. I found myself trying to answer so many questions. What guides me spiritually? How can David and I help all our children make informed and responsible decisions? How do we help them understand that it is not enough to talk about what is right, but also to do the work to make the world a safe and joyful place for all people? How can we help him become a person that asks questions, that never stops discovering and sees the inherent worth and dignity in all human life? How can we teach them to be anti-racist? How will we help them to learn to care for the earth? What if I'm still exploring these questions for myself? Also, when exactly will David and I ever sleep again? I think the most comforting parenting advice shared with David and I, and the commonality that I have found within Unitarian Universalism, is that we can create our own path. In essence, it feels like the permission for grace. To know that we have the ability to raise ourselves and learn along the way with Owen, Henry, and Leo. As a child, I don't remember ever being asked what I thought or what I believed, but rather I was told what to believe and how to pray, who was included or excluded, and what ideals were seen as the way to live a meaningful life. As a species, humans have always needed to depend on each other in order to survive and to thrive. I know that I crave the comfort that comes from knowing I am not alone. I can learn to lean my shoulder on another when the load is too heavy to carry alone. It makes me feel really good to know that I can contribute to my community and bring joy and comfort to others. David and I take a lot of comfort knowing that making mistakes and fumbling along the way is part of the journey. And what a relief to know that my family will thrive with the support and love of a village. What an amazing opportunity it is to learn from the wisdom of all ages. I feel really grateful to be included in this congregation and for the growth that happens within me every day. I find peace in nature and being close to the water. I am amazed by the wonder and the sweet innocence of my children. I feel connected to a greater sense of purpose and love with each full moon. Thank you for the opportunity to share my spiritual journey with you, and thank you for being a part of my village.
Arrange them different tone.